thinkers, email, friend or enemy? I don't know about you, but I have given up trying to zero out my inbox at the end of the day. And now I will apologize to my friend who I actually met, David Allen, who wrote the book, Get Things Done, and it's a really useful book. And he offers this foolproof way of sorting through your daily avalanche of emails and other stuff. And he tells you all these things you can do, like if you can complete a task right away in 2 minutes, you should. And you can delegate as much as you can. And you put the emails in a place that require more thought. And that's where I get messed up, is like, if I have to if it takes more than 2 minutes and I put it in a folder, I never look at it again. So I have given up. Sorry, David, I just can't deal with all my email. So if you're marketing to me, whether it's pitching a CMO for this podcast or as a service for my agency, chances are you're going to have to email me more than once. And so then you have to start thinking, well, what's the optimal frequency? Is there a point at which I'm going to get pissed off and just hit unsubscribe? Is there a time of day where I'm more likely to respond to your pitch? Is there a topic that may be of more interest to me today than was a week ago? Is there an irresistible headline? There's all these things that you, who are marketing to me or marketing to your customer, can be thinking about. And then there's this mix of channels. Like if I see an ad in a social feed and then I get an email on a new product variation, is that the moment that's going to convert me? And I'm talking about you, Allbirds, because you're killing it that way. So yes, on this episode, we're going to do a deep dive into email. It's not a sexy topic, and it doesn't feel like a renegade thinker, but I happen to come upon a recent study by Litmus, which found that 77% of marketers say email is one of their 2 most effective marketing channels. Additionally, 78% of 78% of marketing executives indicate email marketing is vital to their overall success. So that's an increase over last year. So to do that, finally, my guest today is Melissa Sargent, the CMO of Litmus, a leader in email marketing. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Drew. I'm very, very excited to be here.
And so first question, do you clear out your inbox? I mean, are you one of these people who have a clean box at the end of the day?
I do not have a clean inbox, but I do have a maximum number of emails so that I know that when I get more than 100, I've got to go in there and do some tidying up and start moving things around into folders. But I have never achieved the 0 inbox goal and getting things done.
Yeah, it just seems Sisyphusian. It's not going to happen. All right. So, by the way, happy Friday. Because of the pandemic, I'd like to ask, where are you right now?
I am in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yes, know it well, indeed. Okay. So, and before we dive into email, what do you love doing that you haven't been able to do during the pandemic?
I think it's just seeing my friends in person. There's only so many Zooms you can handle and so much texting, but just the ability to go and sit down with them, that I haven't been able to hug my friends and spend that quality time that I am used to over this period, of time. I don't know that I could foresee that it was going to go on this long, and how much ever long it's going to go has been, wearing on me lately, that I miss that interaction.
Yeah, the hugs, it's just so hard. And I think that's what's sort of wearing people down. And one of the reasons why it's surging is because you miss that human contact. So on the flip side of this, is there anything you've been able to do because of the pandemic that has been a source of comfort, if not joy?
So before the pandemic, my entire career I have spent on the road. So I would typically do 150 to 200,000 air miles a year. And that's been my entire life. And I didn't really realize how much of life I was missing out by spending it on planes and in hotels. So for me, on a personal level, it's been very healthy in that I've been, I've eaten more meals with my husband, than I have in the last decade. And that I get to go on walks with my dogs every day. I'm getting proper sleep, proper nutrition. I've been able to, I'm an avid Peloton rider. I've ridden my bike every single day during the pandemic. So from that perspective, it's been quite healthy for me. And it's really changing in what I'm thinking about post COVID. I'm not going to go back to doing 150,000 air miles after, there's a vaccine.
Yeah, it's you bring to mind so many thoughts, and I'm with you on all the aspects of healthy and walking the dog and eating more with my wife and eating healthier. The one thing is we have drunk more. We have definitely, and
I see the libations behind you.
Yes, well, in another show on Renegade Thinkers Live, we actually have featured a gin tasting. Just to cross promote the properties here, I am a gin fan now, but we're not going to talk about gin.
Okay.
It's interesting. You've had a really interesting career trajectory with stops at big companies like CA and sort of mid-sized, smaller ones like Sugar CRM and Channel Advisors, and at least one startup. What was it that attracted you to the Litmus, as a challenge?
Yes, I was at Sugar for just about a year, and things were going really, really well there. I wasn't actually looking for a new opportunity, but when our CEO Eric Nierenberg called me, I knew Litmus because Litmus has always been in my MarTech stack for forever. And when I thought on all the different companies that I've done marketing for, I've done everything from security management to network and systems operation management. I was at Avalara doing sales and use tax automation, all of these technologies. And for the first time, I had an opportunity to market and help people who are in my job. And I just couldn't pass up that opportunity. And it's fantastic because I come to work today every day and I get to work with 180 marketing nerds. And we talk about marketing all day long. And you just don't do that in companies that are marketing or operations management. That's not a part of your day. So for me, that was just a once in a lifetime opportunity that I simply couldn't pass up.
So market to marketers. Well, we'll talk about that. And it's interesting because they're both fascinating. I love marketers, and they're challenging in so many ways to engage. Okay, one thing I was confused about that you helped clarify when we had our prep call is what exactly Litmus does and how it's different from a MailChimp and a Constant Contact, right? Can you just clarify that so the audience knows what we're talking about here?
Yep. So Litmus really helps companies get more from their entire marketing mix by putting their most dependable channel, which is email, first. And the way we do that is we help them in the pre, post, and performance of those emails. So being able to test every email and know that it's going to get to the inbox well. Look at the post analytics from it. So how did that email perform? You were talking in your intro about, what time of day, how much time did you spend reading that email? Those analytics are actually very, very powerful in terms of informing your entire marketing mix. So if something's working in email, you can apply it to your paid channels. If there's a certain topic or certain asset or content that's working well, you can actually harvest those analytics to empower your entire marketing mix. And we see from our surveys that email has a return on investment of $42 to every $1 spent. And so when you think about that in the context of taking that to the next level of harvesting those insights to power your entire mix, you can drive even more ROI. We are actually a tool and platform that works with MailChimp. They're one of our partners. And so we help their customers test their emails. And what we allow companies to do is, because we've integrated with their email service providers, whether it's a MailChimp or a Marketo or an Eloqua, they can do their work in Litmus, automatically sync it to their ESP for their send of that email, and help streamline that entire workflow to make sure every email goes out the door perfectly.
Okay, I got it. So This is just better email, and we know that email works, and so we got to do it better. And there's all sorts of learnings that you can apply to all sorts of other areas, which I think is quite fascinating. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about how you use email and how you market to marketers. So we can talk about that. All right, stay with us. Okay, we're back. And we've been talking about email, which I know sounds boring, but it's not. It's exciting. And let's first talk about how good are you at using email to market to marketers?
It's obviously a big part of our mix. So if you're going to be in the email business, you have to be darn good at email. And what we see, we sell to, primarily we have two parts of our business. We are a B2B company. We have people can come to our website and if they're smaller organizations and buy Litmus online. And we also sell in a regular direct sales type motion. Email is a critical part of that because as people come to their website and they engage with our content, what we find is that, buyers are very discerning. Marketing buyers are even more discerning, I think, than other buyers that I've sold to. And they typically will want to engage with us 6 to 8 times before they even speak to a salesperson. They're doing their homework. They're reading the blog. They're going and looking at customer success stories. And what our email marketing program does is actually help nurture them along that journey so that we can say, hey, I saw that you read this blog. You might be interested in this ebook on that topic. And then when we see that they've engaged with that, to continue to nurture them and help them do that self-qualification in the background, which is how they typically like to do it before they raise their hands.
Yeah, it's funny. As you're talking about that, I'm just thinking about how sophisticated this is all getting and going to get. Is any part of your process sort of include machine learning or artificial intelligence to sort of help folks accelerate this process of as you talked about, nurturing leads?
So there's definitely, I would say this coming year in 2021, we're going to see a lot in the areas of machine learning and artificial intelligence, particularly around the issue of personalization. So there's been this evolution in email marketing where we started it was, one to many. Now we're in the one to some. And what customers and prospects are telling us is that I want you to know me. You need to be able to talk to me. So those communications are getting human to human. And so that takes us to the one-to-one, which, as you said, makes things very, very complex. And that's where I think we're going to see a lot of innovation in the next 18 months, because personalization is something that prospects and customers 100% want, done in a responsible way, in a non-creepy way. But the biggest enablers to that will be things like machine learning and artificial intelligence to help us be able to truly personalize those communications in a way that's highly relevant to that individual.
Right. I mean, and I keep thinking, and I had this conversation the other day with a couple of conversational AI CMOs, and that so many of us have very public footprints from a social standpoint in the content that we shared, and a smart program that read all of that. And I give one example is there's a company out there called XIQ, and they have the ability to sort of take your personal profile that's out there and create a persona that a salesperson could sell against. Well, the same thing could happen with email and marketing, right? So that, well, Drew writes about B2B, so I shouldn't pitch him B2C. I shouldn't waste my time. Well, a machine will find that right away. So I would think that we're going to see, and in the process, as you said, smarter and more personalized doesn't have to mean creepy. It can mean helpful. In fact, it could solve my problem of all the crap that's in my inbox that is not relevant. So go ahead.
I was going to say, what you just nailed it. Relevancy is key. That's what people want. They are happy to receive those communications from your organization if you're sending them highly relevant information that helps them either make a decision or teaches them something that they didn't know about to help nurture them along that journey, and sort of finding that relevancy, whether it's through an email, through dynamic content, or content recommendations or product recommendations that come into your email program so that you can highly personalize those communications, you're going to see much better performance from those. A lot of companies will see, their open and click-through rates, more than double when they personalize those communications. But up to this point, it's been some challenging for some organizations because they're just trying to get the first and last name right. And depending on how clean their data, that's not actually necessarily an easy thing for them to do. But to take that to the next level, and whether you're personalizing subject lines, we know that that drives higher engagement with your email. And then the actual content and what you learn from their experience with that email that you take and apply to the next email, that it's not, batch and blast days are gone. It's about sort of engaging with them, learning, and then applying those learnings to the next stage of your email marketing program.
All right, you heard it here first. Batch and blast are dead. So you're marketing Litmus to marketers. What do you think? What have been a couple of things that have really been particularly effective for you to drive, and we'll just call them, your share of SQLs?
I think it's really in the marketing community. Education is something that people are very, very passionate about, and consistently upgrading their skills. And what Litmus is blessed with a very broad community of, more than, 600,000 users who are very passionate about the product. And one of the things that they will consistently tell us that they like about working with Litmus is the quality of the content on our blog. We have very practical information that's not linked to our solutions. It's, it's giving you the latest on spam testing or the latest on dark mode and what you need to think about. It's very, very practical. So it really helps them be more effective in their jobs. And I would say that one of the other areas related to that, it's, really content is what fuels all of this stuff anyway. You can have a great paid program, but if you don't have content behind that to engage people with, you don't have much there. You just have some pretty ads. The other area is really our content marketing. So, you were talking about our state of email survey. We publish a number of those surveys, and things that are our ebooks and contents, again, are very, very targeted to practical things that help marketers be more effective in their work. And that is really beneficial because they're able to go and learn something. And then it positions us, as thought leaders in this space, and we gain their trust in terms of them wanting to work with us. So that helps us on the MQL and SQL front, because we're able, and we have a consistent drumbeat. It's usually, again, no more batch and blast. You can't really hang your hat on one asset for the entire year. We have a consistent cadence of reports and ebooks that come out throughout the year that they are able to engage with.
And so it's about inbound, getting, creating, and what percentage of your leads, if you will, are inbound versus outbound?
So we are probably we're probably pretty close to 50-50 there. We have a lot of engagement with our website, and we have the benefit of being in this business for 15 years. So we are well known in the community. And, we're typically, when people think of email testing and an email testing platform, we're most of the time going to, make it into somebody's top 3 list, even though there's not like a Gartner Magic Quadrant or anything like that. So we do get great engagement on our site, and we have a true multi-channel strategy. Our strategy is to really get people to engage at the site, engage with our content, help them self-qualify, help them learn more, and then raise their hand when they're ready. So it's really all of those channels working to drive to that purpose.
So one of the reasons that I'm guessing that you used to travel as much as you did is that the marketing industry likes to aggregate. We have hundreds of events a year, and many marketers to marketers depend on those events as a way of generating new leads, as a way of entertaining customers, as a way of bringing customers and prospects together to help close the sale. So how did you make up for that this year?
So yeah, the biggest thing for us was we have this conference called Litmus Live. And Litmus Live is a paid for conference that email marketers love to come to. And was 3 days of an intensive email training and workshops. And we wanted to make sure that we were able to democratize that in this year and bring it to more people. So we made it a free webinar series that is still going on. So we started in the second quarter with a monthly cadence of basically Litmus Live days. And then in September, we had Litmus Live week, which is when we released the state of email survey results. We also had a new product release. At that time, we had our big week. And that's been incredible because instead of getting 1,500 people in person, we reached over 5,000 people this year with our Litmus Live Everywhere events. And we also launched a new certification program so that people could get Litmus certified. And we just graduated our first class after Litmus Live week. And that's been incredibly valuable. We see people sharing it on social. But I think the big learning for us is this change is changing our entire strategy for events next year. And that I'm very hopeful that we can come together physically in some location for a Litmus Live event next year. But the online portion of it is going to stick for forever. And I don't know that we would have thought about it that way had we not been forced to look at our programs very differently.
Yeah, I think a lot of marketers there were many things that you said in there that I want to break down, but we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to break them down. So stay with us. So we're back, and we've been talking about this massive shift that almost every marketer, whether you're marketing to marketers or everybody else, has had to go from physical to virtual. You mentioned the webinars. One thing that I've heard a lot from CMOs, particularly in our huddles, has been that there's webinar fatigue, that it was working really well in April, May, June, and then it's starting to fade out a little bit. And that, things like micro events are working better, particularly when you're trying to get executives there. Have you seen that same thing?
So we really thought we would see that. I was nervous about Litmus Live week for that very reason. I thought, at this point, the last thing they're going to want to do is hang out with us for 5 straight days. And the way we set it up, they hung with us. And I think that's a testament to the quality of the content. And our team did a great job of bringing in some entertainment things and more engaging ways. We had Slack channels that you could have conversations around. There was lots of different tracks that were highly targeted to certain personas and things that were relevant. And so people who came could kind of toggle in and out as as things piqued their interest, and knowing that they would have access to the entire library at the end of it. So in that case, I'm real proud to say that we didn't really feel it that way and that week. And we were certainly expecting that to happen.
Right. You also mentioned certification. Are you charging for that, or are you giving that away?
We are charging for it. It's a nominal. It's just a few $100s but
it's interesting because I know Demandbase made for a period of time made their certification free, and that's an interesting one to think about. While it's a tremendous value and adding a price makes it perceived value, right now with lots of people having maybe more time on their hands, getting them certified is a way of those are the seeds that you're planting for later. So I'm curious on that decision. Did you debate it at all?
Since we made Litmus Live free, which is typically around $1,500, it's an investment.
Right.
And that it's funny is when I said that I was coming to Litmus, every email marketer who ever worked at any one of my teams said, "Can you get me a free Litmus Live ticket?" And which I said, "Absolutely not. You're going to pay."
Right.
But by making that free, we felt like we had done that because we were really opening it up to people who I know who always wanted to be able to come to Litmus Live. They either couldn't, be able to travel. And so we wanted to make that available to as many people as possible. We also introduced some new tracks. Historically, we've been very focused on email practitioners. But as we apply this, pre, post, and performance strategy about applying your email across your entire marketing mix, we've been selling into higher personas in the marketing organization, the marketing manager, the marketing director, in some organizations, even the marketing VP. And what the virtual format did is it earned us credibility, because I think if we had charged people to try to come in person without proving that we could deliver content that was relevant to them and helpful to them in a way that they could easily consume it, we might not have been as successful as we were online. And I think it really sets us up for that success in 2021.
And now that you thinking about, one of the things that a lot of successful marketers to marketers are really good at is content, and whether it's a HubSpot or Marketo or Eloqua, I mean, they're just really good at creating, and it's just interesting that the pattern there. And as I think about what you've done and the things you said, I'm just going to make a list now. There's a consistency of your doing it. There's original research that supports it, so you're just not regurgitating things. There's a real effort to obviously make this content relevant and helpful. And I think that one of the things that from a marketing perspective, if you are just thinking about your market for the first time, the way I always look at it is, what could I do today that would be helpful for a customer? That's the way when we create, what would be helpful for a customer, and then what would be helpful, that whatever's helpful for a customer is going to be helpful for a prospect. So speaking of helpful, let's do this. What are 3 things that you think most marketers are getting wrong with email right now?
I think they're neglecting to test every email every single time. And this is problematic in that there are 90 different combinations when you look at devices, clients, the combination of how people read their email, on what device they read it, what client they're reading on it is mind-blowing. And then when you add on to that changes are made to those, updates are made to those every 2 days, usually on average. It becomes an incredible math problem that you couldn't try to solve on your own. So you can't say, Drew, can you look at this on your iPhone? And Sally, I'm going to send it to you, on your desktop, and we're all going to try to do that. It's humanly impossible for you to do that. So they must test every email every single time. Even if they're the transactional emails, don't leave anything to chance, because the last time you sent that exact same transactional email, something may have changed that you're not aware of. And you want to make sure that every email hits the inbox and it's perfect every single time, because that is a representation of your brand and your brand promise.
So testing, love that. And then we're talking about a lot of different types of testing on every email. Okay, that's one mistake. What's another common mistake that marketers are making right now with their email?
They tend to get, as marketers, we get, we focus on metrics that ultimately don't matter that much to the business. So opens and click-throughs are important. Every email marketer, every marketer knows they have to look at that. But you really should be thinking about it and taking it a step further. What time of day did that person open that email? Where were they? Were they viewing it in dark mode? How much time did they spend on it? What did they do after they read the email? Did they forward it to someone? That information, those insights, when you move beyond batch and blast to this nurture approach to email, that information is going to make your next email better, and the email after that better, and the email after that better. And that's how you drive continuous improvement in your email marketing program.
Interesting. And I suspect that those are the easy metrics that you described as the wrong ones. And it's just so true, and it's amazing to me. And I think it's true across a lot of different types of marketing, because people think of email as direct marketing. And so you could look at direct response advertising, and they often look at click-throughs and so forth. Just in case my dad is listening, what is dark mode?
So dark mode is a way that a lot of people are viewing even their entire desktops now. And it's designed for people who may have some vision issues. So the background is dark and the words are light. So it's kind of the inverse of what you have today. And it's a very big thing in email marketing right now, because it creates some very specific technical challenges for how your email is rendered to for people who are reading in dark mode. And at Litmus, we did a survey and really looked at our email analytics for between September and October within our customer base. And we saw that 37% of the folks were viewing their emails in dark mode.
Oh, wow.
And so it's really growing in importance, and definitely has some very specific things that you need to take into consideration when you're building and testing your emails. And so you don't want to miss out on that, because if that email shows up in the inbox and it's not readable, then you've missed an opportunity to engage with that prospect or customer.
Okay, so that's 2 is wrong metrics. What's not a third? One more really juicy tip for CMOs that they're just missing out on right now.
I think we tend to think of email as just email, and email is an important channel that supercharges your entire marketing mix. Too often people will say, hey, this blog did well, let's send an email promoting the blog. The inverse of that is actually true. This email performed well. Why don't we try to apply that in search? Why don't we optimize SEO for that? Why don't we drive this in our next display ad? It can help drive efficiency and effectiveness across your entire marketing mix. And at a time when a lot of marketers are looking at flat or decreasing budgets, you want to be able to squeeze every piece of value you possibly can to drive your entire mix. And email is a great part of that channel.
So yeah, it's sort of like the challenge we all have in marketing is we have lots of channels, and we tend to look at them in isolation, and they really do work better together. And you can learn things. I mean, it's like social listening can inform so many other things, and just similarly, email listening, if you will. Now,
Yes.
I actually spent at least 6 weeks at Wonderman in my career, and at least 3 months at a direct marketing division of JWT in a rotation. And I learned this much, that at the time, the accuracy of the data was 60%, the offer was 30%, and then the creative was actually 10% in terms of, and this was just a broad rule of thumb.
Yes.
And this was 100 years ago. I am curious, and you look at it today, I mean, I gotta believe that data, the cleanliness of the data is still first and foremost the consideration for what will work and what won't.
Totally agree. And I think, from years, 15 years ago, as marketers, we were saying we didn't have enough data. The complete opposite of that is true today. We have more data than we know what to do with. It's the insights from that data that help us make better decisions. So I would probably change those percentages to like 80% on the data side, because marketing is such a science-led discipline right now, particularly with digital and the advances that we're seeing there, and that's how prospects want to engage with us. So I would, that is definitely our number one priority when we think about this.
So you might see a little tear coming down my eye as you say that. I've always believed the science is important, but I'm also a big fan of big ideas and so forth. And when you start to get 80% data, that leaves 10% for offer and 10% or maybe 2% for creative. And I'm imagining machine-driven headline testing where the machine is writing the headlines and testing it and doing the various configurations, and poof, people are out of the picture.
I don't think we'll get to that part because I'm a marketer. I love great creative and a good CTA and a great offer. All of it's important together. I think what the data piece is, and again, I don't think of this in terms of a one-time thing, like one display ad. I think about the advertising program that comes with this, and that using that data, not just from the lens of what are we doing today, but what are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing the day after that? And how is it helping us get better? And I think that's why it becomes so paramount in terms of the entire program. I'll reduce it to 70% if that makes you feel better.
Okay, a little, not, really not that much. And it's okay. It's okay because I mean, one of the things that we also talked about with the metrics and so forth, that the problem is if you look at these things in isolation, you're going to optimize in isolation. And the truth is, you talked about how there were 8 different touch points that they needed even before they engaged with you, and then how many more after that. And so we have to put value on every one of those things. And one of the values that matters is consistency.
Yes.
Right? And likability. And is it trustworthy? Do I believe this company? And all those things are built through both repetition as well as sort of, I'm going to call it brand purpose and things and brand, just the essence of brand. And so you can optimize for open rate, but that's just like, put a bright shiny object in there and you can,
yes.
But there's so many things involved here. I think that if you overemphasize the data, there is a risk that you will, or let's just put it this way, if you are not looking at it big picture, you will optimize on a little basis, and that's problematic. How do you sort of in your world deal with that combination of big brand, micro data?
I think what I hear you really talking about, and which is a big trend this year, and will be for forever, is really experiences. Because what we're talking about is customer experience or brand experience. And that doesn't happen in one email. It doesn't happen in one visit to your website. It happens with the first time that person interacts with your brand, all the way through that journey, whether they upgrade and buy more from you, whether they renew from you, do they ultimately become an advocate for your brand? And having that consistent experience with your brand throughout a bazillion different touch points, because it's not just what we're doing in marketing. It's when they they log a support ticket, how their account manager, that interaction happens with them across their entire journey and their entire life cycle. And that driving that experience in a consistent, relevant, and that way that provides, brand love that keeps them coming back for more is really what we're all trying to do.
And it's funny. So we used to say in the ad business that anybody can get attention. You just put a gorilla in a jock strap, put them on the corner, and you can do it. You can get attention, right? But that might not necessarily be the best thing unless you're selling either jock straps or gorilla suits. I mean, I got your attention, but so what? But in email, it's a similar thing. If I put the word free in a headline, if I put, hey, Drew, blah, 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 I'm going to get your attention. And there is, there is this problem, opportunity for brands, which is, I need to get on the radar. So I need to do something that's disruptive. But over time, and this goes back to your strategy, which is I'm trying to be helpful. I'm starting from a position of helpfulness. And if that is your North Star, I think then you're going to optimize in a slightly different way than you might if I just want leads. I just want leads. I just want leads. Just give me names. Just put them in the pipeline and let me hand them to sales. Get those SQLs. Am I just,
No, you're spot on. Again, marketers, I think, are more discerning buyers because they're getting marketed, the stuff that we're marketing to them is the stuff that they do all day long. So they will cut through the the clutter and the brand speak faster than I think a lot of buyers will do. And so we lean in with practicality, helpfulness, and enabling them, empowering them to do their best work, whether they end up being a Litmus customer or not, and helping them be more effective in their job. And that builds us a ton of credibility, trust, referenceability, and that they look to us to help them address whatever challenges they're having today. But it also really sets us up as this industry, as I said, like there's changes every single day that we deal with in our business, and we have that credibility to know that we're going to be with them for the long haul. And that's really important for marketers.
Love it. It's funny, in 2000, God, I don't know if it was 2006 or 2008, so right about there, we coined a phrase called marketing as service. And the idea was that marketing could actually be of value to your customers and prospects. And I still believe that that was a sort of an anchor position. Jay Baer wrote a book called Utility, the same idea. And so it's fascinating to hear that this is still, email has an opportunity to deliver value in a lot of different ways, and it connects the value chain of all these other things that you're doing, your research studies and so forth. And so to the extent that this episode was about how can your marketing be of service to your customers, then I think we were really successful. Melissa, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I had a blast.
All right, and if you enjoyed this episode, send me an email. You can find my email address at renegade.com. If you really enjoyed this episode, write a 5-star review on your favorite podcast channel. Renegade Thinkers Unite is written and directed by Drew Neisser. Hey, that's me. Audio production is by Sam Beck. Show notes are written by Melissa Caffrey. The music is by the amazing Burns Twins, and intro voiceover is Linda Cornelius. To find the transcripts of all episodes, suggest future guests, or learn more about quite possibly the savviest B2B marketing agency in New York City, visit renegade.com. And until next time, keep those renegade thinking caps on and strong.